Hi, my name is Laura Windvogel Molifi, and most of you know me as the artist Lady Skollie. And welcome to my show, Groot Gat by Lady Skollie. Groot Gat was inspired by the fact that if you're brown in South Africa, you kind of have to deal with a big hole, a void, a gap, a forgetting within your own culture and within your own remembering. You kind of are defined by a hole within your own history that you yourself have to fill up with either stories or traditions or making your own new traditions. But as an artist, I've kind of figured out that my paintings is what I use to fill this giant gap left by history and oppression and colonialism. Within my own practice, I love to tap into fantasy, to imagine a world where my culture was not nipped in the bud, but where it has been left to bloom. A place where the San, the Khoi, the Griqua, and all brown people on the southern tip of Africa have bloomed without being interrupted by colonialism and forgetting. A place where cave drawings are not faded or scratched or small or vandalized, but they giant and bright and blooming, just like my paintings. So welcome to Groot Gat, this National Arts Festival contribution by myself, Lady Skollie. So-called colored history is definitely defined by an omission, defined by a void of language and history and knowledge and tradition. The power of not knowing is what we use to keep us in a tiny little cage of forgetfulness. Origins are very complex because we all were thrown at the bottom of a bucket, not understanding where we're from or where we're going. Within the show, I'm trying to create a world where these cave drawings are large, they're in charge, and they define us as a people, a place where cave drawings are huge, massive, tapestries on cave walls instead of old, forgotten, scratched out pieces of land that we don't own anymore. In the Northern Cape, there's a place called Boesmansgat. Within Groot Gat, I try to imagine a hole that is guarded by a giant cave drawing deity based on Dada. Have you heard of Dada? Dada is a woman that spent her days and her nights painting, drinking Black Label, and kind of trying to connect back to what being brown, being Naru is within a South African context. Like me, she designed something that people use every day. I designed the 5 Rand coin for South Africa, depicting the San in a long democratic line waiting to vote for the first time, whereas Dada created the first-class seats in British Airways. Within this, it's kind of like a print of forgetting. Many people don't even know who made it, but Dada made it. A woman who would sleep out in the bush and who only ever wanted to make enough money to be a forager and eat berries in the field and give away her clothes and make people laugh. Within my story of the Groot Gat, Dada takes the form of a woman who is guarding a giant deep hole in a large, large cave. No one knows what is on the other side of this hole, but it is met with old folklore and evilness, and people tell the story to scare their children. But Dada knows what she's doing. She's just filling up the cave with paintings, trying to lure a next victim to jump in and see what is on the other side of that long, dark void. Many years ago, Boesmansgat in the Northern Cape was an old fishing well or an old fishing hole that indigenous Bushmen would use. But after the land was taken, it became kind of dormant and full of mud, and now people challenge nature and they try to jump into it to see whether or not they can reach the other side. And the spirit of this hole, which in my story is the watermate, is someone who collects all these spirits and is strengthened by it. But on the end of my Groot Gat, at the end of my hole, is a surprise because it's not a dark, evil place. It's actually the place where the fantasy is real, a place where being brown is not a culture that's nipped in the bud, a place where everything has extended and evolved to a point where cave drawings are large, our identity is intact, and we know where we come from and where we're going. Sometimes if you throw yourself into the unknown and you swivel down in a drain-like kind of way, and you are enveloped and consumed and swallowed by something, you might come out the other end knowing more about yourself and knowing more about where you're from. And so Groot Gat aims to put focus on that sometimes throwing yourself into the unknown, a history that you're not quite at peace with, might be the first step to getting out on the other side. I hope that Groot Gat inspires you to think about where you are from and where you are going and how you want to be defined, because being a so-called colored, you're always being defined by other people's ideas of where you're from and what you do. Are you violent? Are you wild? But being brown here in South Africa is such a complex way of being. And if we don't define it, other people will do it for us. And so I hope that Groot Gat makes you feel that you're able to, like me, just delve into the unknown. Because so much of our heritage and of our tradition is unknown and it's unfair. So I think make your own history and make your own tradition if you have to, and see yourself in the way you want to be seen. I'd also like to thank Standard Bank and the National Arts Festival for all of their patience and for all of their understanding for my situation towards the end of my creation. My practice is very erratic and spontaneous, hard and now, and it was made even more complex with the arrival of a baby. But I'm so thankful that I was able to win something I've always wanted, and that I've been able to share my work with you, and I'll be continuously sharing this show with the rest of South Africa in the coming year.